Jeannie, could you reply to Tim Forsman, who's tried some of them, but that's not working? Okay, starting momentarily. Good afternoon. This is Andy Jorgensen from NCSE and the University of Toledo Department of Chemistry and Environmental Sciences. Welcome to our 7th webinar on CAMEL. I'll be giving a brief introduction. If you've been on this call before, you've heard the introduction, but it's a very brief one today. We will, at the end of the talk, have some time for some more general ideas, information about CAMEL and how to make your own web page. And if you've heard that already, you can sign off at that point. So we'll just have a short introduction at this point. The Encyclopedia of Earth is something that's been part of the National Council for Science and the Environment about 6 years. CAMEL Portal, we're just in the middle of our 3rd year on it. To distinguish between the two, the Encyclopedia of Earth is a peer-reviewed, stressing that, very different than Wikipedia, peer-reviewed online encyclopedia. It is freely available to the public, no subscription charge, you don't even have to be a member, it's just openly available. It is wiki-based for those who are creating materials. We have, as you see, 1,400 contributors, 7,000, actually I think it's closer to 8,000 items, including videos and ebooks and photo galleries. And each of the 7,000+ items have the ability to receive comments. To comment, someone just needs to register, but that just takes an email and a user ID and a password. So that's the Encyclopedia of Earth, thousands of resources, peer-reviewed, and it's on the broad range of environmental topics. Portals are a means to connect content to individuals and people. They are dynamic and customizable websites. I'm defining this term. It easily integrates with the EOE articles into the website. Anything of the 7,000+ articles can come into a portal. You'll be able to create your own portal, which if you haven't seen the demo already, I'll be doing at the end of today's talk. Trinity is the name of the software company that has developed this. They have many other sites as well. CAMEL is a specific portal that's on climate change education, which includes some Encyclopedia of Earth, but also much, much more than that. The CAMEL portal, what we have is approximately 800 entries, about 500 of which come from the EOE, so they're peer-reviewed and those are clearly marked. These are background articles and news links and websites, but also we have about 300 educational resources that are syllabi, exercises, and PowerPoints. And this, again, is accessible to anyone. Everything is open and available on the EOE and the CAMEL portal. After you join, and you can join both EOE and CAMEL, in fact, you just join once and then add the other, whichever one you haven't joined. You can submit comments and questions on the modules. And if you're a member on CAMEL, you'll be able to post articles and videos and news and curriculum. They are posted with just brief review to make sure they're appropriate, but they are not peer-reviewed unless they're going on the Encyclopedia of Earth. So it's a live document that others can comment on. There's a template to make that very easy, and again, I can show that to you if you stay on at the end of the call. And as I mentioned, create your own website, which is extremely popular. And any of the thousands of articles on the EOE or CAMEL, you can mirror on your own website to make a sub-website for your students or colleagues. These are various partners. You see some major universities here, as well as other NGOs, non-governmental organizations, and governmental organizations. We have a special relationship with the American Indian Higher Education Consortium. They're a partner on our project, which I should mention at this point is funded by the National Science Foundation. Let me jump out and go to the CAMEL website. And this, the website URL is just camelclimatechange.org. You probably have found that because you signed up for one of the webinars. It is a partnership with the National Council for Science and the Environment and its Council of Environmental Deans and Directors, funded by NSF, and in partnership with the American Indian Higher Education Consortium. To find materials, you can use particular types across the top. Click on any of these links, and you'll get to the simulations, the case studies. I'm not going to go into that depth right now, but I can later. The full list of topics in step 1 here, you can click on this to explore CAML and see that you find approximately 200 topics, subtopics, and subtopics. Each one of these is a hot link to all of our resources that are in that category. And of course, a particular resource may be in more than one category. Well, I should mention that we actually have a 5-minute video here. That would be a very good place to start. So that's first, is to see our topic index. Second, if you have not yet joined the CAML community, you can do it within seconds at this site. Let me say, as of about an hour ago, we had 497 members. You might, if you join quickly, but not real quickly, you could be the 500th member. We'll see what sort of t-shirt we might have for you for that. You can join just by putting your first and last name, email, username, which is generally just your name, and again, within seconds you will be a member, and then you can submit things for posting. The third is a means for a template for adding a resource to CAML. I'll spend time at the end of the talk about that. Okay. Let me mention the search button here, which will allow you to search by keyword or author or just anything you want, and you get lots of valuable information back from that, and you could then subcategorize it by grade level, by what the subtopics are, etc. And again, I'll give a demonstration. But I want to leave most of the time today for Dave Hossenzel, who is going to be our presenter. Let me send over to him, stop sharing, and where is Dave? There you go. Dave Hossenzel is at Chatham University, and he will be our primary speaker today. I'll be back at the end.
Thank you, Andy. And as Andy said, this will be a little bit different than if those folks who have been through some of these webinars before, and that's intentional. So the little assignment I'm going to show you today was one that we put together, or I put together when I was teaching 2 classes on climate change. One of them was a class for middle school teachers who were spread out across Nevada, so it was an online course, asynchronous, people all over the place. And then at the same time I was teaching an honors course in class. It was a seminar with only a small number of students in it. And at the time we had just gotten some funding from I see Jenny wants me to share desktop. I will in a minute, Jenny, after the intro. Thank you. I was teaching these 2 different courses, and we had just gotten some funding from NASA, who was encouraging people to use their resources to teach about climate change. And my point with this assignment was to show that we don't need big, elaborate assignments in order to use resources of this sort. Rather, we can use just little chunks and do some really interesting things with little chunks. And what I will spend some time on is showing you the assignment I made, which really I put together in a few minutes. It took me some time working through NASA's resources to find interesting things. But once I found one, putting this assignment together didn't take much time. Putting it up onto CAML didn't take much time. So I want to encourage all of you who have not put stuff on CAML. It's not, we're not asking people to put together big, huge 2-week, 3-week long assignments like the one Tricia Minster and I put together and that she presented a couple weeks ago, but rather there can be little pieces. And in fact, little pieces, one of the great things about CAML is you can take a bunch of little pieces and put them together and reorganize them and add data sets to them and make changes and teach your own way from them. So let me go to what the resource is, and first I have to go to share my desktop. So Andy or someone tell me when you can actually see it.
Yes, we can see it.
Okay, good. It's not always instantaneous. I want to check. So this is the landing page for CAML for those of you, or the front page for CAML, and I'm already logged in. You can see up at the top there my name. If I wanted to go find this assignment, since I know what it is, I'm going to go NASA Time Machine. And I will search for that, and it will pop up at the very top. And what this is a little educational tool that NASA put together to show just over time how a variety of different things will work. And what I did with this assignment, and I did this as an online environment for both my in-person class and for my online class, because I think it's important to have discussions. And I should preface this with the students that knew something about climate change before I gave this assignment. So this wasn't necessarily an intro-level assignment, although one could use it to start exploring climate change. And all I asked the students to do, as you can see here under goals, I said, please visit the NASA time machine. For any one of the models, explain whether it helps your understanding of the topic, including how NASA might improve the tool to make it clearer. So here I'm asking students to do a number of things. This is a writing assignment for one. It's a thinking assignment. It's not asking them just to interpret, but it allows me to see how they interpret data, how they interpret models, and also their ability to critique models. So this seems fairly simple, but I'm actually asking them to do a fair number of things in this assignment. I expect you will spend some time researching and drafting your comment before you post it. Postings will be graded for clarity and content. And I will not grade your writing per se, although one could easily shift that assignment and make this about a writing assignment. But your grade will depend on the extent to which your posting is understandable. And then I asked them to be fairly brief because that was just the nature of the conversations in this class. It was a regular online discussion. So let's go to the CAMEL time machine so that you can see what it is and see why this is an interesting thing for these students to do. So there are 4 different models that you can select here. One is on sea ice. There's also some music playing in the background, which you probably are not picking up. But this covers sea ice, polar sea ice from 1979, which is outlined in red. And as you move the time frame forward, and Andy, you'll tell me if this isn't showing up for everyone, I hope, because it's always not always clear. You know, as we get up to 2000, we can see that really this has moved quite a distance. And so one thing students might do is say, well, I don't understand the dimensions here, or, oh, I had to get out a ruler and try to figure out for myself and a globe and figure out what kind of area we're looking at here. So that was one point of clarity the number of them asked for. They say, well, we might be able to figure out a percentage, but this doesn't really tell us much about how much sea ice has gone in terms of volume, so mass of ice, or in terms of distance or length of retreat of the sea ice. But you can see this is a fairly compelling visualization of the change in Arctic sea ice over a 30-year period. The second one looks at sea level, and it looks at it specifically in 4 different areas. So one is southeastern United States. And so here, in order for this to mean something to students, they need to know something about how likely it is that sea will rise different amounts, whether it will rise 0, 1 meter, 1/2 meter, 6 meters. And so most of them had to spend some time looking up additional information so they knew what it meant. But you can look and you can see from this simple model what would happen if sea level were to rise different amounts. So as I move it forward, you can see New Orleans and Miami are completely inundated once we get up to about 3 meters. With 6 meters of sea level rise, a good fraction of Florida would be underwater. We can also look at the Amazon Delta, see what happens there. It starts off at the highest level I left it in. So you can see a significant amount of the Amazon Delta well inland is covered. Again, there's no scale on the map here, so that's one thing the students often suggested they wanted to see. Northern Europe, so especially those students who have spent some time touring Europe in high school before or after high school, and have been to Amsterdam or some other part, they can see how much of these low-lying nations, the northern, Lower Saxony in Germany and the Netherlands, how much of that would be inundated with different amounts of sea level rise, and also how even with 1 meter of sea level rise, these low-lying diked areas of the Netherlands would be underwater. And so they would want some conversation about how likely that was. And then looking at Southeast Asia, and you can see a lot, especially the small island nations, are significantly impacted with some sea level rise, but also that some of these areas are very steep volcanic areas, so they go up very quickly out of the sea, more quickly than people might have assumed before for small ocean nations like this. The next one is carbon emissions, and so this is just going from what it was like at the start in about 2002, and just looking at the change in carbon emissions based on this color chart by 2009, and then thinking about where it might go, and you see some interesting effects. You can see the seasonal effect as carbon goes up and down, which we know it has interannual variation, I should say. And so that was sort of surprising to some of the students. They said, well, why is it not highest at the end? And so that's something to challenge them well, because there's seasonal variation, and we expect that to happen every year. And finally, global average temperature, and it's the difference, and there's some interesting effects, like very beginning here, there's this anomaly up to the upper left, and so there was a conversation, well, is that real? Was that an artifact? How much did we know about temperature measurements back in the 1880s? How much more precise did they become over time? How much more certain? But you certainly can see the trend in temperature against an average, where the average is right around, but you can see changes in the average, and certainly by 2007, and I'm hoping they update this. They have updated some of them. They haven't updated this time machine yet. I made this assignment in 2009, so it was much more current then. So those are the 4 models. It's pretty straightforward. It's fairly easy for people to interpret, but there are a lot of questions that NASA has left for us to ask ourselves and for the students to challenge. And I can say the students really enjoyed this. Some of them ended up writing their term papers on something that came out of this one very simple assignment. So the next thing I'm going to do, so there's the pretty straightforward piece that we wanted to show you. The next thing I'm going to do, though, is I'm going to go and show you how one could actually use this in the context of CAML. So here I am back at my website, and I'm going to go, and I went through this a couple times, but I'm not as great at doing this as Andy is, so he could do this in a second. I'm going to go to my dashboard. No, I had decided not to do that yet. I apologize for this. So let's go back to the main CAML website, and I will show you some resources. Sorry, I'm having trouble copying and pasting here. So back to the main CAML website, and one option that we can do, we've got the Educator's Toolbox here. So all I did was scroll down a little ways, and I can go to the Educator's Toolbox. And amongst the things we can do in the Educator's Toolbox is create a personal website. And so this is a website you can use to teach your climate change class. And there are a number of different themes here that you can use. Now, if you want to actually create one, Andy, maybe you will go into specifically who we talk to, because if you try to do it right now, Trinity will ask for a fee, but in fact, we are able to provide a teaching website at no charge to people. Oh, here it is. We had CAML in a promo code. So we're going to go to, say I want to select this design. I'm going to say I agree to the terms of service. I'm going to call this Time Machine, although that's just so I can keep track of it, because I have several of these. Time Machine, I will afterwards ask them to just delete this from the system. I don't need to type standard here, because I can type in the promo code, which is CAML, and this should let me, or this would let me, create a website. I'm not actually going to do it now. I'm going to go to a website I've already created. I just don't want to clutter the Trinity site with a whole bunch of different small websites I will never go back to again. So instead, I'm going to go back to my dashboard. This is what I would have done in order to create a site, and I'm going to go to a site I created in the past, which is Intro to Climate Change. And here we have a number of different things. We've got some discussions. So this is just, actually this is one that Tricia had been working on as well, and she had been teaching from this website. So Tricia Minster, who taught a couple weeks ago when she was working with me. So this is a website, but we can live cross-publish to this site. And so we could take, and I'm probably going to do this backwards. Yes, I am. I can live cross-publish that piece, that NASA Time Machine piece, to this teaching site. And then it will be available, and I can then add to it. I can make it an assignment. I can add discussions to it. There are all sorts of different things. So if you look on the left here, we have these different topics. We can create a whole new topic, and the topic can be, doing this live, the topic is going to be discuss Time Machine. And I'm going to say Time Machine here. And you can see I can add that information here. I can add some conversation about it, and I can turn this into an assignment that my students would use during the class. And I could take this, I could add the students, they would join CAML, and I would add them to this website so they had access to this website, and we could actually do this whole assignment online. I could tie it to another assignment. I could bring in a data set and add that to the assignment. So I could have a whole bunch of stuff, and it would just be me and Tricia and the other students in the class who are using this time machine, using this area to look at Time Machine, even while the Time Machine is still open to everyone else. So a couple lessons here. The first one, as I said before, is designing a module. We've used this term module, and a lot of people asked us what a module is. Well, what I just showed you is a module. It's a little piece of information from NASA, and it's a little discussion about how to use that resource in order to teach with. A second lesson is that all the different pieces that are up here on CAML are not standalone pieces. They are pieces we can use in a variety of different ways to talk with. It's a very versatile resource up here, or to teach with, rather. One could take the Time Machine and ignore the stuff that I've put up there and use that to teach something completely different. So you don't have to use what other people have put up. You could use this and you could have a whole separate set of questions surrounding it, or a whole different assignment surrounding the same model. Another one is the power of a simple graphical model. That is, it really doesn't take long to figure out what this model is, what it means, how to manipulate it. There's one simple slide bar. There are a couple geographic options for one, and for the rest, it's just you have one option to look at. It's an imperfect model. There's stuff that the students would like, and so it forces students, or gives them the opportunity, depending on the student, which of those two verbs you would use, to look into what the resource is and how to use it. And those are, those are the lessons that I think can be taken away from this fairly simple model. I will leave it open to any questions now, and then I think I will return it to Andy, who I think is going to go through a few more advanced features.
One of us is going to talk about the other NASA modules. Dave, was that you or me?
Sure, I can go through some of the other NASA modules, but maybe I'll open this. I'll open this one up to questions first. I don't know if people had specific questions about this. So if
if you have a question, please type in your chat box to either me, Andy Jorgensen, or Ginny Brown a question. We can't unmute everyone because the background noise is just too loud. But if you type in the box, either to Ginny Brown or to Andy Jorgensen, we'll read the question out and Dave can answer it before moving on to the next section. And while we're waiting for the questions, Dave, your next topic will be?
Well, my next topic is going to be looking at, oops, I don't know how that got to members.
You have a CAML link open just above your mouse.
Oh, I do. Okay, thank you. There we go. My next, I'm just going to show some of the different NASA resources. So I will start with the NASA resources. Oh, here's some questions coming in. Do you see those, or are they just coming to me?
Yes, they're both.
Okay.
One just came to me. It said, my question is regarding the source citations for the model data.
That's an excellent question. I did not include that, but they are available at the, they are associated with the NASA Time Machine. So let's go back there, and it goes directly to the NASA Time Machine. So this is actually at NASA. Let's see, those?
Well, to the questions, though, the module that has data on it, so if we go to a data set, it should indicate where it is from. So it's very easy to put citations. Dave, if you go to the CAML home page and then click on data set, let's see, and we're doing this live, let's see if people put reference on. Data set's down in the middle. You can do it from right there.
Sorry, I'm not sure.
Page above the,
right.
The edit. There you go.
Yep.
And these are the data sets that individuals have put in.
Okay, so I'll go to that first one. Oh, actually, you know, I was looking at this one the other day, and it does not have a reference, and I was about to send that back to say we need to take this one off of live because it does not have reference. So that's why that one had already been selected. But let's go to this one, which comes in from the CLEAN network. For those of you who aren't familiar with CLEAN, it's one of our partners They've done an extraordinary job of vetting a variety of teaching materials from around. So the graphic here was developed, so this has the reference, by agassessment.org, so you could go there. And you can also go into the see who originally authored the resource and see who they are, and then the International Assessment of Agriculture Knowledge, Science, and Technology for Development. So these data sets that are up there do have reference material. I don't know if this has answered the question, though.
We have another question, if you're ready.
Okay, but let me finish answering that other one, because I think the question was, do we have the underlying data that NASA used to create that those models? I believe when I first went and got that model that it did have the data set at the page at NASA that houses the model. I put the link directly to the model, but I think if you were to back up from where I was at NASA one step, you would find those data underlying it, or at least a reference to those data. Okay, Jenny, go ahead with the second question.
You mentioned that your students already have some climate knowledge before introducing this time machine exercise. Where in the course did you find this activity to be useful?
I think I put it about the third week of the course. So they had enough of an introduction that they knew that all the issues here were relevant, but they hadn't explored the underlying data for most or all of these yet. So to some extent they were new and to some extent they were not, so it really forced them to think about how much could they learn from a graphic like that, and then allowed them to return to what they didn't know yet and what they needed to know in order to understand it better. So it was fairly early in the course, but not the first day. I think it probably could be used in a variety of places, and it could be used at a variety of different levels. It could be used just to describe how that process is happening. I thought it was much more meaningful to use it to challenge students to think about, well, what is NASA trying to communicate? How well does it communicate? What more information would I need in order to understand it better? So one can imagine making this a much more in-depth assignment as well at a deeper end of the part of the course.
There's another question, David.
Okay.
Do your students take these modules and form action research from these resources?
Do they form action research?
So do they act upon it, I believe the questioner is asking.
I'm not exactly sure what that is. Hopefully I'm not displaying some deep level of ignorance. This specific is, yeah.
Did they use this information to do something? I guess is what I'm understanding the question to say.
Well, I mean, they use this information to, not outside the context of the class. So I'm not exactly sure what the questioner means by action research here.
Okay.
From your model of actions.
You can read that.
Yeah. Do they mimic this process in their own research and development? I'm sorry, Lyle. I'm really not exactly sure what.
Well, most of these are beginning students, are they not?
Yeah.
These are not graduate students, right, David?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. For most of I use this for a very introductory level. I mean, they did use this assignment to try to dig deeper, and their comments and responses I thought were pretty potent and showed that they were really taking it on. I don't know exactly how to. I think the questioner is asking me something, and I'm not exactly sure what it is. I think what I will do for now, though, is go on and look at some of the other NASA resources. And I know you've already seen some, because if you've been on the assignments by
Kevin Spiegel as well as Tricia.
Yeah,
and
Kevin
Arnold
Spiegel,
Bloom.
Arnold Bloom, Tricia Minster have all been on. So I'm just going to pull up some of the other NASA assignments. I'm just going to search CAMEL for NASA. We've also put up, as you can see, a number of just data sets and simulation by NASA. So there are a number of things that you can access there. And then we have some assignments that use NASA data that have been put up by the CLEAN group, or were vetted by the CLEAN group that we've added on. And then let's see. So we have a time machine. Yeah,
two lines above, Dave, will go to all the NASA. Oh, you just passed it there. It says resource. There you go. Click on that. That'll give all 10 of our resources.
This one.
Got
it. Okay. Yes, that's the one I was looking for. So you can see here how they're categorized. We have things by assignments, but also, so this is all of the different curriculum modules. This is this quick and easy one that I put together. This is the climate change impacts on Colorado River water supply that some of you may have gone through. And you might see I added, I think, a comment to the end of this one because there's now a really neat video that comes that covers some of the materials. NASA put together a video that uses satellite data to show the change in vegetative cover and land use cover in the Las Vegas Valley in time lapse of about 30 seconds. It takes them to go over about 40 years of development. And so this one, the Colorado River water supply one, may be the most extreme different from the NASA time machine one, in the sense that this we actually designed and it took 3 weeks for the students to go through, as opposed to a simple look and comment assignment that took 1 day to work through, or less than a day to work through. We have Kevin Spiegel's efforts on seasonality, so to allow people to understand seasons and they're relevant to a changing climate. We have another one on remote sensing, so by Kevin, to help people think about and understand what remote sensing is, to interpret data, and then to come up with some new information from those data to look at changes. So a lot of these are really designed to address different levels, comprehension, but then also working with the model. He did a similar thing with snow cover patterns. David Kitchen used some ice core data in order to explore different aspects of climate change. And these data really mixed, this really mixed data from a variety of different resources. It wasn't just NASA data. And Arnold Bloom's Climate Change in Wine, which explores the relevance of different geographic scales and how well we need to know data, on what scale we need to know data, actually have it work for us. Oh, and also David Kitchen's assignment on predicting the long-term future of climate change, so using some NASA materials to look at that. And finally, societal contributors to climate literacy, using some satellite footage and other things in order to understand that relationship. So you can see these have a variety of different depths. We have not explored this one, but you can see this is a very straightforward and sort of policy-related piece. Others are very technically related, so David Kitchen's and some of Kevin Spiegel's very much looking at the technical side. So we really do explore across the continuum, adaptation and mitigation, policy and technical, so a variety of different contexts we're looking at there. So Andy, how about if we'll keep looking for questions, and I'll turn it back over to you to talk about using some other resources.
Yeah, there is another question.
Okay.
And, okay, but I just lost my chat box.
It's here, Andy, and maybe, oh, okay. Andy, you already, okay, thanks, because Andy's...
Okay, I've given 2 answers to Renee's question. Okay. The first one is not valid because I didn't read her question carefully. Renee is asking, is it possible to download audio and video somewhat freely, or is there a protocol? This would be educational purpose, especially in rural areas where internet is limited. I answered a question she didn't ask, that is, if something is on YouTube, it can be embedded into a module. In terms of downloading audio and video so you can use it on a local computer, I'm afraid I can't answer that technical question. If Lyle Berkey is on the call, perhaps he can answer that. I know that when authors put up PowerPoints and PDFs, those can readily be downloaded with no limitations whatsoever. Please give a reference where it's from. We'll have to, Renee, see about getting you an answer to that question. I'm going to share my...
Yeah, and Andy, maybe you can also be, because you know this a little bit better than I do, the technical details, the agreement we have in terms of sharing. I mean, we have this share and share alike protocol, and maybe you can describe that a little bit.
Well, we are in a comparable situation to Wikipedia in terms of sharing items that are, if they're not copyrighted, they can be shared as long as the reference is given. Even if the reference is Wikipedia, that material can be used. It just needs to be noted in the reference part of the article. Okay. Let me put the chat box up in case I see if someone's posting other questions. I will spend a few minutes now on a little deeper, but on a general sense of what's going on in CAMEL and what is possible, and I will be looking at the question box. First, let me show you the power of the search. Just going to put in a generic term like water and see how many of our 800 items are related to water. As we see, we got back 405, so half of them. That makes sense. We have some topics that are water-based, but we have that module of Colorado River water supply that Dave did with Tricia Munster and we did last week, various other articles on water. But let me show you along the left where we have something very powerful. First, of these, 368 are published, 16 are unpublished. That is, someone's still working on them but does not want them published as yet. The next, of the 300 and some, 318 are articles, 3 of them are news stories, 62 are resources, so that would be mostly CAMEL specific, 18 are topic areas, and there's 1 video. Then grade level. When a person puts up a resource, they're asked to indicate the grade level. Of the resources, of the 62, 30 were indicated as early college, 1 for general public, and 1 for middle school. The early college, the grades 13 to 14 is our sweet spot there. We will clearly accept things above or below that, but that's where we really recruit information. Resource type, assignment, case study, data set, image, lab exercise. So as long as the author has indicated which of these resources it is, 5 simulation syllabi. And then the secondary topic filter, so water and actions, water and adaptation, water and agriculture. And so you could subdivide that to your heart's content. You could say water and adaptation and get those 16. Let's see, it's still loading. And of those 16, 14 are published, 1 unpublished. I'm not sure where the 16th is. And there are 6 of them are articles, etc. So it further divided it out to just those 16. Of those 16, 2 were college level, and 1 was middle school level. Let me, Dave, Todd, by the way, to get back to the CAMEL homepage, you can just click on the CAMEL logo next to the U. U is from Trinity. And I want to show how easy it is to set up your own website. And David got us started on that, but I'll go all the way through that and generate a website and then erase it later on. Okay, we go to the Educator's Toolbox, and let me highlight something here that's, I think, very, very useful. On this Educator's Toolbox, there is a link to series of videos, how to do a website, but there's also creating exams and the like under the creating the website. So what I'm going to do now, and I realize it will be maybe hard to pick up all the details, here are 7 different videos, how you can create a website, create exams, etc. Anything you might want to do in your website. And your website could be a collaborative project with other professionals. It could be something for your class. So therefore, it could be public or private. Private in that you only allow invited individuals to be members of. You would have total control. So as you heard, you pick a design, and since I'm a chemist, I'm going to pick the chemistry design, although it turns out that's not my type of chemistry, but I'll select that design. And it has me log in as this member, so it's going to be my website. Okay, running a little slowly here in Toledo. So I come up with a name. I'll just say test, and I'm going to put today's date. That's way I don't reuse a name. Oops. Have to say I agree. Test 1-2012. The URL, I'll just, it can't have any periods in it, it turns out. Okay. And as you heard from David, just put in the word CAMEL. As long as we're funded, these are paid for by a site license through the grant, compliments NSF, and I submit. Oh, I just realized I should have clicked this little button here, automatically approve. This means that you'll let anyone who gets to your site, who's legal to be in your site, to use your material on their site. You don't have to do that. So now it gives me little tips. Do you want to add content, a topic tree, other? I know what I'm doing, so I'm going to jump out of this and go right to the site. Okay, so I've generated the site, and it's called just today's date. It has the generic topic 1, 2, and 3. It has, I'm going to click on members, and it only has me as a member at this point. But I can invite members to join. We can show how to do that later. You can change some of these topics. These are the topics 1, 2, and 3. You can put real words in there. Did that too quickly? You can create a topic. Let me create a new topic here. And let me call the topic water, since we were just looking at that. Short title is still water. I could put an image if I have it. I can put some information about it. Oops. Oh, it's looking for an image, but I don't. It went to my hard drive to look for an image. I'm just going to put it easily as water. And now I'm going to jump back to CAMEL and find a water article and move it into this website and show you how very easy this is. Still producing it. Okay, so water is one of my topics. I'm going to home here. And go to Encyclopedia of Earth or CAMEL. I'll go to CAMEL and find a water article. Just pick up any one of them. And I can do the Colorado River module here. And because I'm logged into CAMEL, I can go to the bottom here where it says, I'll leave it in a minute, Live Cross-Publishing Options. I'll click on that, and it says you want to produce this site, so you don't want to move the whole CAMEL site, but this content. So this particular article, where do I want to move it to? These are all of my sites, and I'm going to move it into the test 5/1/2012. Okay, since it's my site, I can move it in there. And I decide where I want it on my site. I want it under water. And I click Add Content to your topic tree. Now I will go back to my site that I just generated. I will click on water, and I don't know if somebody had a stopwatch on it, but there it is. Seconds later, it's now on my website. So this is a great means for you to put together a reading list for your students to pull in exactly the items you want. And you are not limited just to the 800 on CAMEL. You can move any of the 7,000 from the Encyclopedia of Earth and put those into your website. You can, when you look at, I'm going to the bottom again, here's website options, edit website information, and here's where you can decide the parameters of your website. So for example, logos and graphics and other things. But then you, as I say, you can control membership on here. You can keep it closed so that only those you invite are into this website. Okay? All right, I'm going back here. And now I'm going to go back over to CAMEL and show you how easy it is to enter something onto CAMEL. And I'm open to questions. If this is Andy Jorgensen, just type the message to me and I'll be happy to answer your question. I'm going back to the CAMEL homepage, which you can do just by the logo there. And if you want to add a resource, you need to be logged in, so you need to be a member. I'll go to adding a resource. And there is a template that opens up at this stage, and it's based on the SERC, Science Education Resource Center, which we very much appreciate their willingness to let us run this. This is where you enter the information, and it's in a standard format, so those looking for resources will know where to find individual aspects of it. You don't have to use all the categories, but they're all in a particular order. first, what type of resource is this? A data set, a field exercise, an image, a lab exercise, lecture, PowerPoint. So I'll just put, I'll say definition, just as a short thing. Definition of water types. I'm just making this up as I go along. It presumes I'm the author because I'm logged in, but if somebody's doing it for you, you're doing it for somebody else, you can pick any one of our members as an author, and you can add additional authors. You then are invited but not required to pick a grade level. So as I say, our sweet spot is grades, it's college 13 to 14. You can specify a range if you don't want a particular one, if it spans more than one of these. And then it asks how long it'll take to go over this, and this is going to be a short thing. I can say 1 second. It's going to take more than 1 second, but let's say 1 hour, okay? And then I'll say this is a definition, and you can make any of these hot links. So for example, I'm going to make this a hot link by, this is the standard wiki toolbar. I'm going to click on this image. I'll give a couple seconds here if you're not familiar with the wiki toolbar. This is where you can link or upload material associated with what I've highlighted. I've highlighted this as a definition. I want to link that to a website. So it clicks, and you could either be an upload, a target, or a URL. And I'm just going to put my university's URL on there, so it's because I can do that off the top of my head. Okay, say okay. And now you can attach PowerPoints, PDFs, all sorts of things, okay? If you want to do a video, that's a little different way to do that. You can write some summary about this is the teaching resource content. So, and in fact, since there's a star right there, we must say, we must put something in the box. We can erase it later. What are the goals? What are the teaching notes to the instructor? And what assessment activities? Of course, very important in all this. And here's where you put the references and resources. We had the question about references. Now, you decide if you want the table of contents, so if you have more than one item on the table of contents, and don't include comment, but generally we do include comment. And then publishing notes. You could put things like here, wrote the first draft on such and such date. If there is a copyright information, you can put it in if you're able to do copyright. But then you have to decide where you're going to put it, and this is a key thing. So I'm just going to randomly say this is under consequences, human, and say biosphere. And you can check off more than one of these. This is how people will find your material, so check off the right, appropriate number of items. So if I didn't skip any required boxes, I should be able to submit and see this dummy article, which I'll promptly delete. Okay, first I will unpublish it because I'm a manager. It publishes automatically. As you see, it's a definition water types. It has me as the name. I clicked on humans, biosphere, and individual. How long it takes and what grade level. I put these tested things. Now let's see if this link works that I put in. Yep, yeah, that's my university's website. All right. Let me see if I can get back here. Okay. And I just put these test items in, and it picked up my author information. When you become a member, we encourage you to put a photo and a little information. You can put a couple paragraphs of information so people know about you. And I'm going to go, though, and I'll show you where, say you didn't want the assessment in here. You could edit it. And by the way, I'm almost finished, so you can start thinking about your questions. If you want to take some of this out, you can just edit it out. It was only required in the first pass. And then I will submit it. And lots and lots of flexibility here. You can be working on it for a while and keep it. I'm going to take it out of approved in pending status for as long as you want to work with it. You can invite other people you're working with to participate if they're a co-author on it. So lots and lots of flexibility. Okay, I'm going to actually delete this dummy article now, and later on I'll go back and delete that dummy website. And of course, I could have pulled this item into my my new website that I generated, or I can just leave it on Camel. Okay, we're winding down. We have about 10 minutes left. If someone would like to pose questions to me, Andy Jorgensen, to Ginny Brown, or to Dave Hassenthal. Remember, you can click here and see our future webinars. We had a very successful one yesterday. Next week, we have Stephanie Furman and Patrick Callahan from Barnard College. Stephanie was an early partner in this grant. You can click here to register. 2 weeks from today, Mike Finewood, who is David's colleague at Chatham, and then May 22nd is the next one on climate change and energy from an American Indian perspective. I see we have a leftover question here, Dave. Did NASA implement any of the changes your students suggested, or do you think they will? Have you communicated directly to them how they can improve their time machine?
I did not give them feedback. I left it to the students if they wanted to do that. I think Time Machine was created as a standalone unit, although they did go back and update one of them because they were not through, they did not go as far in time at first. So it may be that they're actually going back. Originally, I thought they weren't going back to change it. But no, as far as I know, they haven't, well, no, they have not made any of the changes that my students suggested, I should say.
Okay. Other questions? Comments? We've covered our whole agenda. I can highlight some other items here. Explore by theme, American Indian and Indigenous peoples. That's a major component. It was actually a supplemental grant from NSF to work on there, and our webinar yesterday and the one 3 weeks from today is related to that, with climate and food security, etc. And then by content partner, CLEAN has graciously allowed us to post information about their reviews, with then have links to their detailed reviews, some other labs and universities. Here is where you can get the recording of previous webinars, where I think we have the first 3 up, 1, 2, and 3. So there's a little bit of time lag. There's Lyle who gets these up for us. So look for this one in maybe a week or 10 days. Student resources, I can point that to you. There's you can have your students look at this. There's lots of opportunities there, graduate programs, scholarships, fellowships. So this is a one-stop shop almost for climate change, really getting to be a popular place. We can tell from the number of hits on the web page that this is being very extensively viewed and used. So opening up for other questions as we wind down. We appreciate everybody coming in. By the way, within the next day or so, you will get an email inviting you to fill out a survey. We promise it will take no more than 5 minutes to fill it out, but it's very important for us to have feedback, and it's very important for our funders to hear what this feedback is like. These webinars have been extremely popular. This is our 7th, as I mentioned, and we've had over 700 registrations. We had about 50 online yesterday. So please do fill out the survey. And if you just want a broader survey, look to the left here, take a visitor survey or take a member survey. That's quite extensive, in fact, if you'd like to tell us what your interests are, what you can provide, what you're interested in. But, you know, I'm going to see if we got our 500th. We got a nice thank you from Tim, and thank you for being on. Let's check the CAMEL members, see if we got to the 500. We'll have to find a T-shirt for that 500th member. Let's see. We are at 498. We need 2 members. We need 2 members to get 500, and this has only been up about maybe 6 months, 7 months. So we moved quite quickly here. No charge for any of this, including the website. I think that's a great power of it. The last couple of minutes for questions.
And thanks to Tim for your nice comment.
Mm-hmm. Always nice to be appreciated. Seeing familiar names there. Hello, Steve Conkle. How you doing? Sorry that I can speak here on this, but the other lines are muted. We tried having the lines open, but the background noise is just too great, and we got more complaints about that than we do about people not being able to live. Lyle Benko, great amount of information covered so efficiently. Okay, Phyllis is asking the question, curious if there's any embedded link to learning management systems like Angel. Well, Trinity has its own learning management system, and that's what they are marketing, but which we are able to use at no additional cost. So as you saw there, you were able to, if you go to the Educator's Toolbox, you can set up and put in a, reload here, create exams and surveys. Manage assignments, manage certifications. Now, this would not be, you know, I teach at a major university that uses Blackboard for this. This would not be FERPA compliant for a student's official grades, but I could see where this could be useful for you to survey your students, give them some readings that you put on your own website, and then post a survey on there in which you ask them what they think about it, what their suggestions are, etc. So that's, there's actually a lot of power to the Trinity engine that we are using. So you see here somebody has posted a survey of climate change and sustainability practices in institutions of higher education. Nice shout out from Patty W. Thank you. Last few minutes here. Please use the resource. Please become a member, and please, please share. As Dave mentioned several times, where the smallest unit can be quite small, if it's a resource that could be useful, please post it so others can as well. Okay. So Ginny is saying next webinar, integrating games into teaching. Is that the Stephanie Furman item? Let me go back to the list of webinars. Oh, the title is not there. So Ginny's telling me the title of Stephanie Furman and Patrick Callahan is Integrating Games into Teaching, Responding to Climate Change. Stephanie is a polar explorer. I've seen a great picture of her out on the ice in her big red coat. Last call for questions. Other than that, we will sign off with appreciation for Ginny to setting this up. And Renee, I see we'll have to get an answer to your question about what we can download. I'll ask our expert, Lyle. Well, good day, everyone. Hope your weather's as beautiful as it is in the Midwest today. It's going to be 80 degrees. Goodbye.
Okay, thanks all. Bye-bye.